A lot of people had something to say about the Masters of the Universe. And we're talking about the social media Senate hearings. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Saturday and we're having a super time.
Yay! And Vince knew it was Saturday this time. Yay!
Yeah. I almost said that beforehand is why I flubbed the intro to that.
You know what? And it's been a while since you flubbed the intro, so that's okay. We forgive you. Well, and you didn't know I was going live because I was watching the clock, but I guess you weren't watching the clock, and then you went to tell me something, and I had already started.
You're like...
And I was like...
Wait a minute.
So, yeah.
I wasn't ready for that one.
We may need better, I need some flags or something to show you what we're doing so that you know. But we're here.
We need like an on-air button and then we have
Hello, Electric Dreams. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching. So we're talking about the Senate hearings over the social media stuff. So they had 5
5 of the CEOs, yes.
5 of the CEOs, different social media.
Right.
Executives and all the CEOs. I think they started out with Mark Zuckerberg.
Got Zuckerberg from, he does Meta, which is several things. Facebook and Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then...
But it was Facebook. I mean, it's Facebook.
It's Facebook. All those stuff happens on Instagram.
But I have their glasses.
Yeah. There was Clifton, he's from Snapchat, which everybody knows that's like a hookup thing. So I don't know why parents are letting their kids have Snap, but that's a whole separate thing. There was Yacarino from
But you
X.
can like talk on any part of the social media and have like a chat part.
Oh, no, wait. Clifton is Discord. Spiegel is Snap.
Spiegel is Snap.
Yacarino is X, and then Chew is TikTok.
Yeah.
So it was all of those. So it was X, Discord, Snap,
and
Facebook.
Out of all of them, there's only one female CEO.
Well, right, but that's just how everything goes all the time. So I think that's a whole different topic. Being female, I definitely noticed that when I was looking up clips for tonight's show, but I was like, I could go on maybe a 40-minute rant about that, but we're not going to go there tonight. This is more about the social media part.
Yeah, I actually had Colleen actually doing more than she's ever done for the show.
Okay, before we actually talk about what we're supposed to talk about, just... We are married. If you've never watched this before, we have been married for almost 25 years. This is Vincent's show. Okay. I never even thought this show would get off the ground. 7, 8 years ago?
Right.
When you started it, I thought it's going to fizzle out because he's going to get bored of it or whatever. I'm not going to help. It's going to be too much.
Like 3 months tops, didn't you?
Yes. And he wrangles me into everything. The conventions, the game writing, everything.
Wrangle you into this. You chose.
No, he wrangles me in. He makes me feel like I need to help him because everybody else is, inconsistent.
I was doing it like a year without you.
I live here, so I'm consistent.
I did it like a year without her. I did.
I know. So I don't want to learn how to do more because I don't want to be responsible for any of this. So I'm always like rolling my eyes. And he's like, just sit down. And yes, okay, it only took me like 2 seconds to do what he taught me to do, but I don't want to know.
But when I'm doing everything else, well, today was a different circumstance because we didn't get here till like 4:30.
Yeah.
And it takes me a couple hours to get everything set up.
Yeah. And so when we divide and conquer, it's not so bad. But I still protest. Just so it's on the record, I protest. Okay, go back to the show. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My protest is over.
So what was it, like 2 years ago? They started, they brought this up a while back.
Yeah, it started with the congressional hearings.
Yeah.
I don't remember when, and I didn't really
I think
research.
I titled it congressional hearings. It wasn't congressional, it was Senate hearings.
Right.
We already had the
this time
congressional
is
hearings,
Senate
like, what,
Judiciary.
2 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
It was in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. So anybody who's familiar with the United States government knows that there's all these checks and balances, and so you have to go through this, and then it goes to a committee, and these people have to talk to these people, and then they go to these other hearings, and so it may be 10 or 12 more years.
But when I saw that on the congressional hearings, and it says the same thing for today, is the lawmakers don't know anything about social media. They don't understand it.
Well, look at the age of them. When we start showing some of the clips, look at the age of some of these people.
But even then, some of them are even our age.
Very few.
Slightly older. What, Ted Cruz is around our age,
yeah, but he's an idiot. So, I'm just saying. That's my personal opinion. I do not like Ted Cruz for many, many reasons. But he is our age.
Right.
And he has young people in his household. So he should be more aware of what's going on.
Right.
Just saying. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they seem to not understand. Now,
if here's my thing. If you're going to have a hearing about something, you should know as much as possible about that thing you're having a hearing about than just blurting out stuff because you hear other people say it.
I will say that it seemed like they were more prepared.
Well, because they sounded
this time,
like blubbering idiots. They still did. They still sound like blubbering idiots during this hearing as well.
I think not as badly as they did with the Congress.
Still,
I think
it was
they
still
did
pretty
some,
bad.
I think they did some research, but yeah, I think a lot of it is sound bites, right? It's trying to make it sound like they want to. It's capitulating to who they think is their target voting base. Yeah. And so is it really that these senators actually care about this topic? Or is it that they are jumping on this bandwagon to have something bipartisan that they can talk about, right?
Right.
To have something that can appease their voter base and be like, oh, we're the common man like you. We care about this issue that's impacting you.
Right.
I feel like it's smoke and mirrors, just like with any other time they've brought up a big company or video games or music or anything like that, where all of these things are, causing harm to children. And so then we've got to jump on this bandwagon about what's causing harm. It's just like all the book banning.
The reason the congressional one that happened 2 years ago was because of voter manipulation or something like that.
Something like that.
For the what was it? The Russian influence on
the presidential
election.
Yeah.
So that's what started it out. This is a little bit different when they're more attacking the aspect of it coming to affecting children.
Right,
they talk more about that.
Yeah.
So like, oh, well, the stuff didn't work with the...
Well, and I think...
getting Trump back in.
I think some of it, too, is... A lot of it is about, okay, the American public in general as a whole is tired of the 1%ers. So let's attack them in a way that it looks like we're attacking them, but we're not really going to do anything.
They've not imposed anything on them. They still haven't made anything resembling any type of act or law or something passed that regulates social media companies.
Nor will they. We all know that they won't.
They're not going to. Do they want us to be America? They want us to put all these sanctions and stuff on them, but when it comes down to it, it's freedom of press,
freedom of speech, and they want to keep commerce going.
Yeah.
And let's just be really super honest about all of this. Who lines their pockets so that they can go get votes, so that they can have commercials? So because it's not us.
People may not like our stance on this. There's going to be a number of people that aren't. There's going to be a number of people that are.
Yeah.
You may be surprised what we actually think about this.
I mean, you might be. Yeah. I don't know. We don't usually talk about political stuff on here.
But I saw this being an issue for kids like over 20 years ago.
No, not that far. Let's see. Maddie is 31 and he was like 13 when he got his first. So yeah, almost 20
years.
Almost 20 years ago, yeah. Oh God, my child's old.
Yeah. We're old.
Yeah, so and it was an argument that Vincent and I had, and some of it was because I was bullied as a kid, and so I didn't want my kids to get bullied, because one of the reasons I was bullied was because my family was poor, so we didn't have all the things, right? All the cool things that all the cool kids had. And so when the kids around our kids started having cell phones and cell phones and cell phones, I was like, oh, our kids need cell phones. And you were like, they don't, actually. So I was
and that was the thing right there, because I saw this thing. I was just like, this is going to get out of control. Yeah. They're going to have this device. They could do whatever they want at any time.
But back then, it was just like flip phones.
But even then, back then, it was even before we did a whole bunch. But that was the beginning of what started all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, let me talk to all my friends. Let me bully people that I have their phone number. And do that, because this had to do with exploitation. This had to do with bullying. This had to do
those challenges.
With the challenges and drugs. So there's a number of things that are concerning, but definitely something that could have been prevented had we not shoved everybody onto technology so early.
So early on. So
early on. And and I see that being done with kids every day. We saw that this morning. Little kids.
Yeah. We can't go to a restaurant anywhere, and because I'm a teacher, this has become something that I'm kind of hyper focused on, because the kids nowadays have a hard time in the classroom paying attention. And we know it's because of the phones. So now I'm out there looking, right? And so I'm looking around the restaurant this morning. That little kid has a phone. That little kid has a phone shoved in his face. That little kid has a phone shoved in his face. Those two over there have phones shoved in their face. Some of them have big, giant tablets with cute little stuff on them shoved in their face. They're constantly... And some of these kids are like 2 years old. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Batteries again. I don't know why this is going out so fast. Thanks.
Even though they can hear us.
I know.
I bet you don't turn it off after.
I do turn it off. I swear to God. I turn it off. I promise I turned it off.
We should be back.
Okay, sorry. Batteries again. I don't know. That's twice in a row. It shows me full battery when I turn it on, and then I just happen to be looking over because I'm looking at the screen and I see something out of the corner of my eye that it's blinking red, and I'm like, ooh. Okay. So anyway, back to the show. Sorry. So there's a bunch of kids on phones because they've become the babysitter.
Right.
So
back to the hearings.
Okay.
So one of the things that before this happened like after the congressional, the $270.
So it happened in 2018. So it may have been before the congressionals, but people weren't aware of it until this time.
So Mark Zuckerberg sent out a memo about the cost of
like keeping the platform safe per kid.
For kids. So they were going to spend $270 per kid per month, or
it seems like from what I read, he calls it the lifetime value. So I don't know if he means like from when they're 13 to 18, and then
it's only $270.
It's $270 for the whole lifetime value of that user. And then once they're 18, they're grown, and so there's no safety that he has to put in, no protocols.
Okay.
That was kind of my understanding of it.
Okay, so the big thing that kids were like getting like T-shirts and say I'm worth more than $270, but not to big tech companies. You're not worth more in advertising.
Right. So I think, one of the things that becomes problematic is you're taking something that he said in a business prospectus, right? Mm-hmm. So he's saying, in order to keep the profit margins that I have, which I get it, he has bazillions of dollars and he doesn't need those profit margins, okay?
Right.
But it's his business and he believes he does need those profit margins. So what he's saying is, to keep those profit margins, I don't want to spend more than $270 per kid.
But you have to think about it is, of course, he doesn't need that money. No, him himself, no, he doesn't need that money. But his company needs that money to be able to pay employees.
Yeah, but they don't even pay the employees that well. Let's just be honest. He gets the majority of it.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't get the majority of it. No.
We'll agree to disagree.
He's got to roll it back in. There's so much more because, I mean, he doesn't have necessarily a big product that he's selling. He's selling advertising.
Which is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry.
Well, it is now because it's costing more. It's costing businesses more because we're trying to, the government is trying to push them to do more. So if you're going to do more, well, that costs more money.
Right. Well, I mean, I just think, I get where you're coming from. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's wrong because it's his business and he's allowed to do what he wants to do. I still think that there's an exaggerated or bloviated amount of money that these CEOs make to an extent that he practically has his own island with an underground bunker that is larger than like 3 or 4 houses in our neighborhood put together. That's just his underground bunker for in case there's an apocalypse.
Okay.
Like, he has ridiculous amounts of money that no human being actually needs. So he would be capable.
But who's to say that?
Right. But I'm just saying, he would still be able to have a lot of money and spend more than $270 per kid on security measures.
Okay. Well, here's my thing.
Okay. I see you.
He's providing a free service.
Yes, free to the users. Yes.
They don't have to pay anything to be on Facebook.
Right.
Or Instagram.
Right.
Or WhatsApp.
Right.
So, I mean, $270, spending that money on $270 for it being safe. Well, there's another way to make it safe without having to spend anything. Is to go through and make sure the parents don't allow their kids access to these social media platforms.
Yeah, well, that's a whole conversation. I mean, they were comparing it to back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Chevy knew that they had faulty gas tanks in several of their cars. Mm-hmm. So they had
another reason I don't buy Chevy.
They had a memo going around that said that they would rather spend the money.
Hey, good evening, Chef Johnny.
Hey, Chef Johnny. They would rather spend the money to pay the families of people that died in fiery crashes, because at the time it was $200,000 mm-hmm. that they were paying per family. So they would rather spend that money than have to spend the amount of money it was going to cost to go back and fix the gas tanks in all of the cars that this had gone out on. And so people were up in arms saying, mm-hmm. like, what Mark Zuckerberg is saying is kind of similar to that. But I agree with you. It's not similar because...
That's a different thing because they're paying for the vehicle.
Right.
You're not paying to go on Facebook. You're not paying to go on Instagram. You're not paying to go on Discord. It's all free. Snapchat's free.
Yeah. Chef Johnny says, LOL, good luck with that. Too many parents don't give a crap. You know, we're going to get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Because I'm a teacher too. Chef Johnny's a teacher too, so he gets it. Right. So I think that that's different. Them trying to compare that to the Chevy thing. Okay, I've bought a car.
Right.
That I'm driving around in at high speeds that I could hit other people with, and it could potentially combust. Yeah. Okay. No. You should fix my car.
Right.
You shouldn't have sold me a product that I had
Yes.
to pay you money for that's potentially going to kill me and others on the
Right.
road. Yeah. Yeah, that's a no. That's a no. It's not like selling me a car with no seatbelts or selling me a car with seatbelts that I choose not to wear. Because this social media is kind of like that. You've given me a car that has seatbelts, but you're choosing not to put them on. That's on you.
Right.
Right? That's
Right.
on you. So.
And there's a number of ways you can do that as well. I mean, there's apps that you can install on phones that you can see everything. Of course, they're starting to learn, kids are learning how to get around that. But if they're young enough, they don't know. If they're young enough, they shouldn't even be on the phone.
I mean, that's my first. That's my first contingency. Is
my thing that I never wanted the kids to have a phone until they were in high school.
Right. And I finally chewed on you, and you were like, just shut this woman up.
Okay,
and
this is my concession. I was like, look, we can get them these. They were called Peaks at the time, they were just for texting.
Yeah.
So we can contact them when we need to. If they need to contact us, they can contact us.
Right. Because not only did I not want them to be social pariah, right? But then I was convinced that something bad was going to happen to them. Even though we always made them like walk together to go places. One of us or my mom always picked them up after football practice or tennis or choir
and they're big
or whatever.
Old kids,
And they're big giant boys. But I got it in my head that somebody was going to do something to them, you know, and so I got this idea that they needed these phones to be safe. When we grew up and we didn't need phones to be safe. So yeah, but again, what they had back then was so limited compared to what these kids have nowadays.
But here's the thing, is all these people are up in arms. Even the ones that are up in arms, they're not going to be willing to do what it's actually going to take to stop this. They're not going to take phones away from kids.
Which even when our kids had flip phones, we took them away at night. They couldn't have them.
They're not going to do that. They're like...
Chef Johnny says, I got my son a phone so I could contact him and he never answered me. LOL.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. That's how our sons are now.
Yeah. Well, that's how they were then.
Yeah, you'd have
to. And we told them, and I was like, if you don't pick up, we're going to take it away.
And that's the thing, though, when we said, if you don't pick up...
here's the other thing. We'll cut off your service.
Right, so that was what I was about to say. So when we told our kids that if you don't answer our phone calls or our texts or whatever, and we're worried about you and we're looking for you, we'll just cut your service. And we would call and we would tell the phone company, oh, their phone has been stolen. Can you temporarily stall their service? And they would. They'd cut their service off. So then the kids are fuming. And we were like, we told you.
And they're like, what? Well, that's dangerous. You can still call 911.
That's right. You can still call 911 even when your phone is disabled. And the majority of the time you're at school. So if it's that big of a deal, go tell a teacher or something and they'll call us. You know?
Right.
Or if we're having something that's that big of a deal, we'll call the school and they'll get you. That's still a thing nowadays too. You know, schools have phones, right? You can call us.
Well, the schools used to have pay phones. I remember sometimes I used to have to like call collect.
Collect, yeah.
Because I didn't have a quarter.
Dime. It was a dime.
I don't think it was a dime when I was in school.
You're the same age as I am.
When I was in middle school?
I'm pretty sure it was a dime. I don't know. It's been a long time. It was like 40 years ago. So
yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna agree with Vincent and Chef Johnny, and this is something that I always say. This is on the parents.
Yeah. It always has been.
you need to take their phone away. You can put some kind of app or something on their phone so that you can see what they're doing, what they're adding to their phone. You know what's really simple? And I can show you this. If you have an Android, and I know this works on Apple too. If you go to the settings, on Android, it is called like well-being or something. Digital well-being and parental controls. If you click on it and sit down with your kid, you can show them how long they were on their phone for the day, for the week, how long they spent. Like we were driving today, so I've been on my phone 4 hours today. An hour and a half was on maps because we were driving, and so it was going off. And then it'll tell you for the week, it'll tell you all these things. You just click on it, and then it shows me my daily average time is like 5 hours. Mm-hmm. Go ask your kid to show you this. See how many hours they are, and it'll even show you by day and by hour on the day. So you look, and they're supposed to be in class and stuff. Look and see how much they're on their phone. Right. And then look and see what apps they're on, because it shows you that too.
But while we're here, why don't we bring out some of the clips for the hearings?
I have lots of clips. Which one would you like me? Do you want me to do like an overview clip?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is time for a federal standard to criminalize the sharing of non-consensual intimate material.
We share the committee's concern and commitment to protect young people online, and we welcome the opportunity to work with you on legislation to achieve this goal.
Just like with all technology and tools, there are people who exploit and abuse our platforms for immoral and illegal purposes.
It's been 28 years, since the internet. We haven't passed any of these bills because everyone's double talk. It's time to actually pass them. And the reason they haven't passed is because of the power of your companies.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you and the companies before us, I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands.
You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product?
I'm sorry for everything that you have all gone through. It's terrible. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an overview. And Electric Dream says it's too popular these days to shrug off accountability and then cry foul when the world around doesn't pick up the slack or cater to them. Some are lazy, some are ignorant, a lot of victimhood junkies. And I would agree with that. And then, okay, let me just be really honest. A lot of parents nowadays are run by their kids. And so then they want to say things like, well, I want to protect their privacy and I want them to feel like they have their own private space. They are children. They are children that obviously are dying because you've protected their private space. How much private space do they actually need?
How much is private space worth their life? Is it?
Is it? Because you put baby monitors in their rooms.
Yeah.
Because they could die in their crib. Mm-hmm. But you won't monitor their social media that could kill them and make it so that they don't make it to adulthood?
Yeah.
Why is it different? Why is it different?
One of the big things they talked about was bullying in the hearings. Now, as kids, as us being kids, we experience bullying very differently than they do today. It's different. I think the kids of today experience much worse than we did. We experienced it more physically, but they experienced it way more emotionally. So when we were kids, when you wanted to be mean to somebody, you did it to their face. And that's hard to do to somebody, is to be mean to their face. And but then the person you were bullying could go home and be away from that, and you could get a break from it. Get a break from it when you're home. Now, you don't have that break.
No. So I want to speak to this just a little bit, and I'm going to try not to cry because this is going to potentially make me cry. So growing up as a kid, I was bullied so badly in middle school that I actually tried to take my own life 3 times. And my parents didn't know about it. And luckily for me, I didn't have the internet back then. So I couldn't look things up and find out how. So I did stupid stuff like I took like half a bottle of ibuprofen, which just makes you sick and have a headache and it makes you dizzy. I tried to drown myself because I didn't know that your body won't let you drown yourself. You have to try really hard, and I just couldn't do it. And then I tried to slit my wrist, but I didn't have anything sharp enough at home to do that. If I had had to go home after the abuses that I took at school in person, and then if I had to go home and see memes of me online showing me as a frog with frog eyes, because that's one of the things they used to call me, as a gorilla, because they used to call me a gorilla, as, you know, that I was pregnant when I was in middle school because I was so fat. They took me out in person and had this boy pretend that he wanted to be my boyfriend. And then he wanted me to go to the football field, and they were all out there and they threw rocks at me. So if they had been able to take a video of that, and that video had been played on loop on YouTube or Snap or something like that, and I had to go through that over and over and over again, I may have been more successful and I may not be here today. So I understand the whole bullying aspect, but that's why you have to pay attention to what is going on with your kids. This is why you have to look at their phones. This is why you have to talk to them. This is why you have to take it away from them, because if not, it's in front of them 24/7.
Right.
And they will get no break from it. And yes, they will take their lives. They will, because there's no break. So that's my soapbox.
Yeah. And I think they passed something out of that, at least
David's Law.
David's Law, yeah.
So the bullies can get consequences, but you have to really show that there's a lot of verbiage in there for what bullying is. So it has to be persistent. It has to kind of be by the same person. So what kids do is they get in groups in their little cliques and stuff, and then they focus on one kid. But since it's not only one person focusing on another person, it becomes hard. Chef Johnny says the big change with YouTube ads a few years ago, they weren't saying no kids on YouTube. Then the ad department was going to companies talking about all the kids on the platform and selling ads. Yeah, and then they try to ask you, well, is this video made for kids? Well, all you have to do is say no. Like, they're not really checking it that much to see, is it made for kids or is it not made for kids? You know, I mean, who's checking that to see if it is or not?
Probably AI.
Yeah.
Is checking it.
And then the other thing is...
The AI is getting really good at stuff.
Yeah, but how do you know that the kids are really kids? You're not doing biometrics or putting in your anything. You're just typing in a birthday. So kids are not stupid. They'll just type in they know how to count.
Right.
They'll just type in a birthday that makes them 18. They'll type in a birthday that makes them 21.
Yeah, but it's all about the algorithms on what they watch. And that determines that.
Yeah, but even still,
that's what AI does.
Yeah,
it makes predictions.
Yeah, but you're talking about kids that, again, have no parental oversight. So kids are watching fight videos. They're watching clips of Euphoria. They're watching clips of Big Mouth. They're watching South Park. They're watching nudity. They're watching all kinds of things that don't indicate that they're children.
Right.
Because nobody's watching what they're watching.
Right.
So they're watching whatever they want to watch. And even as parents, they can filter stuff. And there's enough people on the internet that know that if you spell things a certain way, if you spell it incorrectly like a kid might spell it, that stuff's going to come up.
Yeah.
Kids, and they're going to see those videos.
Parents need to get more savvy with technology.
They just need to
the great thing about us in our generation is that we grew up with everything coming in with the technology, so we grew up with technology.
Yeah, I mean, our kids had a computer. And we checked it periodically. And a couple of times we found some no-no stuff that they were not supposed to have. And we had conversations with them. And we were like, Mommy and Daddy did their periodic pop-up checks. And even though you tried to erase your history and all that stuff, Daddy knows exactly where to look. And he found your no-no folder of naughty Pokemon stuff. We're going to take that down. In fact, we already did.
Well, they didn't clear out their history.
Right.
They never cleared out their history.
Right. And
they're like, oh, well, I'm not going there, so that nobody's going to know. I was like, look, you went here. You went here. I can tell you the minute you went there.
Yeah. And then they would have folders and stuff, and it's like, well, we can find the folder. You know. What, you have a folder named accounting? You're like 12. What accounting are you doing? But that's the thing. We paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
And we put limits. We even had limits on the video games because nowadays the kids can chat. I mean, even back then they could chat, but even more now they can send things through video game chats.
But I think part of this was our generation's contribution to this issue is because we gave them technology.
Right.
When we shouldn't have.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it started with our generation pandering because we had it so hard, you know. We had to stay outside and play.
Oh, we were the latchkey kids.
We had to drink from the garden hose and stuff. Heaven forbid, you know.
Where they were like, go outside and you can't come back inside until... I don't think it was really like that in my house.
It wasn't like that in my house either because I had the beaver cleaver, you know. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. But a lot of my friends were like that. Like, they would come to my house because they had been kicked out.
But I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just went home and you fended for yourself, you know. And it just was what it was. And so I think a lot of people in our generation then didn't want our children to have to deal with that. So
we went the
opposite way too far.
We should have. Yeah.
Yeah. And now nobody knows how to come back from it. But
I do know how to come back for it. But here's the thing. All you do, if you issue a phone, you can only issue a flip phone to a kid if you want them to in fact, I don't even think they need one until they're like much older. If they get one, then they have to be, that phone has to be registered to them. And if it's registered to them and you're their parent, then you have full access to anything that they access with that phone. Nobody's going to go for that.
Oh, no. Absolutely
you can't
not.
tell me what I'm going to do with my kid's phone. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
Because they're not willing to do what it's going to take for us to fix this.
Right, no.
But it can be easily fixed.
They want to just jump on the CEOs and say, well, you have all this money, you fix it for me.
Yeah.
Just like they want to jump on the teachers and
And
stuff
there's
and
no
say...
way you can do that. There's no way you can do that. There's too many.
And it's not like the CEOs are doing nothing. They act like the CEOs do nothing, but we know people who are in content moderation.
Right.
So they have steps in place.
Yeah.
It might not be perfect, but at least they have steps in place.
Because what we don't see is like Microsoft does it for Xbox. Sony does it for PlayStation.
Yep.
So we didn't see them up there.
Right. And
they do grooming on there too.
Well, and here's the thing.
Just like they do on all the other social medias.
And I found out from some of the content moderators that I know that there are apps that I thought were like only teachers were using them. And it was for classroom use. No, they have told me that groomers and that predators have found a way to use those apps as well. Or the children have figured out how to use those apps to send naked videos and stuff to one another.
That's
so now
crazy.
you have 10, 11, 12-year-olds sending like twerking, naked, pole dancing videos of themselves to other kids.
Yeah. Very easily, and it can be distributed to anyone. When for us to do something like that, you had to have like a Polaroid and take a picture of yourself and then physically give it to somebody.
You're like, here, would you like a picture of my pee-pee? And now the kids are like, airdrop. There's pee-pees everywhere. Dear God.
And the thing is like other countries are not as locked down as we are, but they don't do the stuff that we do.
No.
Like you can airdrop to anyone in in Europe and it's fine, but of course like sex isn't like a big thing over there.
Right. But they still don't want their children having sex.
Well, but I don't think their children have phones.
Right, probably not. But speaking of other countries, I have a clip that I got that I wanted to show because it kind of goes back to what we started with these senators not having any idea of what they're talking about and being ignorant. So I am actually going to play y'all a clip. I hope I'm playing the right one. I think it's the right one.
What nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in
asking-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in
Do you
Singapore.
have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen. Your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
And just because he's Asian, he's affiliated with China.
The Chinese Communist Party. Like, what is this, the 50s? It's the Cold War? Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Like,
Then they're gonna say, "Oh, you get the flu from TikTok." You don't get the flu from TikTok.
but that's the thing is they're trying to, my chair keeps sinking further and further down. They're trying to attack these CEOs, and it's like they run out of things to attack them.
Right.
Because the CEOs are very measured, right? They know exactly what they're going to say. They have all their sound bites memorized. They know, what they're supposed to say. So then the Senate Judiciary hearing is like grasping at straws.
Right.
So then let's say we'll grasp at the Chinese Communist Party is, behind TikTok and everything. Okay. And if they are, then if you personally don't want to get on TikTok, if you think the Chinese are like checking us out or trying to steal our stuff or trying to take over our nation, don't get on TikTok.
Right.
How many of these CEOs don't let their kids be on social media?
A lot of them, like almost all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
They don't let their kids be on social media. They don't let their kids be on technology.
Just like you shouldn't.
Right. If you hear,
Tell me what to do. Well, you're not going to fix the issue then.
but if you hear the CEO of the company saying, "I wouldn't let my own child do this," but you're free to let yours.
Yeah.
And you are. We're in a free country. You are totally and completely free to let your children do whatever you want to let them do.
But then you also need to be free to deal with the consequences
Right.
that happens because you did that.
You need to be culpable. Why aren't you researching what all the current trends are if you're afraid that your child is going to get involved in some trend that could kill them?
Mm-hmm.
Your kid's asphyxiating themselves or doing something else. Why?
Or if you go through and then you start prosecuting the parents, they're like, "Oh, well, you can't do that."
Why isn't it negligence?
Yeah, it is negligence.
I mean, if you look at it as a whole, it's not, just like it's not the musician's responsibility not to write songs with lyrics that are, depressing or explicit. That's on you to decide what music your child listens to. It's not the responsibility of the video game creators to make video games for your kid. Yeah. It's not the company's responsibility to make things for your kid. You made that kid. That's your kid. It's your responsibility to make sure that your kid is not watching or interacting with the things that you don't think are appropriate.
Right.
Plain and simple. Plain and
Like
simple.
I've seen parents take their kids out of movies that we're in just because I don't necessarily agree with it. It was like pulling kids out of Harry Potter. But if they have that conviction, yes, that's your right. Have that conviction. Take your kid out of there.
Yeah, I didn't love, and I still don't love, half of the things my parents did because of their Christian beliefs. But I never, as a child, would have told them otherwise, like these kids do nowadays. Like, these kids nowadays are like, you can't take my phone from me. I mean, there was somebody just the other day that shot their mom because she took their phone away from them.
Yeah.
No. You're the...
Here's the thing, parents. You don't even have to take their phone away. Just take away their access to it.
Well, and
not access to it, but their service.
And don't raise a kid that's going to beat you.
Yeah.
For being the parent. Just be the parent from the get-go, and then you wouldn't have these problems. Just saying.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't have these problems in schools, and we wouldn't have all these problems in business, and it all comes down to parenting.
It does, and then nobody wants to parent.
Yeah. And that's my contingency. All right, we've talked too long.
But yeah, that was our view. It may not be popular, but that's what we believe, and we're sticking to it. But if you have something different, let's talk about it. Let's talk what you may think about the hearings, or what you think about kids being on social media, and let's see if we can find the middle ground and see what that is. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
And I'm Colleen.
Geek gotta say.